All right, greetings everyone. My name is Miriam Husna and this is New Earth Mystery School. Today we are in part 2 of Lucidity. We're talking about being awake in the dream. Last class we did an intro to dream work and we started just talking about like what dreams mean and like what is happening in dreams and dream interpretation. Today we're going to talk more about techniques, and I'm going to talk about some ways that I support myself in being able to have more dreams. Now that we kind of talked and covered like what is dreaming and what's the benefits and what are some of the things that are important about dreams, we're going to talk about like how to do it more this today. I wanted to say a couple of things for people who are watching this later. Our guest that we had scheduled for today, my dear sister Sukina, had a scheduling conflict. She's actually returning from a retreat in Bosnia, and the timing is not going to work for today. So we're going to reschedule that separately. So there'll be a separate class, and everyone will get information about that. If you're a portal member, the information will be in the portal, both in the forum and on the Lucidity page. And if you signed up for this class, either for just for the month or in that way, you'll receive the information by email. So look for that. What we talked about is next Sunday. So it will likely be next Sunday because I would like to keep everything within the month. So that way, when we move on next month, when we're going to be talking about energy exchange, I'm so super excited for this topic. I feel like I've been wanting to talk about this topic forever, or I feel like I am always talking about energy exchange. So we're going to talk about energy exchange and healthy relationships, and we're going to talk about the patterns that we experience on a day-to-day basis in the ways that we exchange energy with other people, whether it be people online or people that we're at the bank with or people that we're receiving services from. And obviously there's going to be those patterns that are mirroring, what we're working on. And then there's a certain sort of like human energy exchange dynamics. Like there's narcissists and there's all kinds of other personality types. So this is going to be great because it's going to segue into the following month where we're going to talk about empath medicine. So we're going to talk a little bit about the empath narcissist energy exchange power dynamic, and then we're going to go into empath medicine after that. So we're going to talk about being highly sensitive and being empaths, and talk about how I retired from being an empath. So that's going to be the flow for the next couple months. Next month, my guest, I'm so excited, is like my dearest friend, and she is the woman that I am opening up the retreat center in Tunisia with. And she, for the longest time, has always been talking about how she wants to write. She's a writer and an anthropologist, and she studies culture, and she's been saying for a long time she wanted to write on how to break up with friends. And I was like, please. I've known her, she's been saying this for years. And I'm always like, you need to write that. So I told her, I was like, you're going to teach this next month. She's like, okay. So she's going to teach about how to break up with friends. And this is so important in healthy energy exchange because knowing how to like break up with friendships well is super important, or even romantic relationships. We could probably get into that too. But how to break up with relationships with love, because moving on from relationships that are no longer a match to where we're going allows us to make space for where we want to go. So this is a very important part of healthy boundaries. Not a coincidence. Absolutely important part of healthy boundaries, healthy relationships, healthy energy exchange. And as we know, when it comes to all things, relationships can be one of the most draining things. When the energy exchange is not healthy, it's not reciprocal. So we're going to talk about power dynamics, family dynamics. We'll talk about work dynamics. So whatever other relationship energy exchange dynamics. We have, oh, we'll talk about like co-parenting. That's also really, really interesting one. If you have someone that you're co-parenting with, that you were with before, that you're no longer with, that's also another interesting one. So we're going to talk about healthy energy exchange and all of the nuance and subtlety around relationships, how to break up with people, and we're going to also talk about how to attract people. So I'm a super strong magnet for attracting people. I'm very attractive, as I like to say. But all that means is that I'm really clear on like who I want in my life, and I have no problem meeting people. So I get asked all the time, how do you meet people? And I have zero problem with it. So I'm happy to talk about how I do it. And obviously it'll be metaphysical. So that's what's coming up. And I wanted to do the announcements at the beginning because just in case I notice we don't always make it to the end of the video. I want everyone to be aware of what's going on. So let's see if there's any, oh, I have another awesome announcement. And I was like, wait a minute, I have something else to say. I'm starting a new series. And I'm so excited to share this with you all. It's going to be a master class. So how we have our classes every month. I've been wanting to do this for a while to bring people in that I think are master channelers, master mediums, that are creatives, that are artists. They're people that you probably know. A lot of these people are visible. They're friends of mine. So I'm actually going to be doing a new series starting this next week. The first guest will be my friend Yursa Daly. She's an amazing poet and writer. And we're going to be talking about flow states. That's the name of the series. So it's going to be called Flow States, and it's going to be talking about how people get into the flow to be able to receive creative inspiration and ideas, and how they bring those ideas to life, and what's the sweet spot. So like some people, musicians, for example, will call it, being in the zone, all that kind of stuff. The second guest was going to be Anna Wise. Some of you may know her. She's an amazing musician friend of mine. She has a group called Sunny Moon, and she's also been featured on Kendrick Lamar's album. I was like, I'm going to forget his name. She's an amazing vocalist that's been featured on a lot of Kendrick's albums. So that's the first two people. If you're a part of my community, you are included in that, and you'll be able to attend live if you want to. So I'll post the time in the portal. So this Tuesday, if you want to attend the conversation with me and Yursa live, I actually have her book right here. We're going to be talking about her new book, which is called The Terrible. And if you don't know her other work, she's an amazing author of the book Bone. So we're going to be talking about that. Yay, yes, awesome. So we're going to be talking about that, and that'll be Tuesday. And yeah, and it is going to be shared publicly. So unlike the classes that are just, whatever, this is going to be an online series. So you guys get to attend if you want to hang out and see what we're doing and ask questions and all that kind of stuff. So that's another fun thing. And let's see, what else? Any other announcements? Oh, I noticed that some people don't know that the forum is active in the community. It might not be self-evident. Someone actually, Genevieve, I think, actually commented and said, I can't believe this whole time I didn't know that the forum was active. I just thought that it wasn't up yet. So you actually have to click on the name New Earth Mystery School, and then it opens you up to the forum, and there are tons of conversations happening in there about school. I know there's some study groups in there. People have great questions. I post, that's the easiest way for me to keep up to date with you all about things that are going on that are timely. So just, if you haven't, familiarize yourself with the forum and all that good stuff. So, okay, that's all the announcements. Let's talk about dreams. Okay, so a lot of people have already commented that they had an increase in dreams since the last class, so that's good. What I think that signals is simply that you are letting your subconscious mind know that I'm available for dreaming. And that was one of the main things I was going to say. People I'm like, how do I dream more? How do I do this? And yes, I'm going to talk about herbs, and I'm going to talk about oils and things, other techniques and things like that today. But what I want to say is one of the most important things for dreaming is to tell your subconscious mind that you're going to have a dream. So the thing that I always say is, and again, at this point, it's already programmed into my subconscious, so I don't really have to say it. But when you're in the process of changing your beliefs around dreaming and opening up that gateway to dreaming, you want to just say something along the lines of, tonight I will have a dream and I will wake up in a perfect time to remember my dream. So that's the thing. You want to let your subconscious mind know that you're going to have a dream and that you're going to wake up and remember the dream. So, and I talked about this a little bit last time, but one of the most important things for dream recall is waking up. So that's why one of the techniques that we'll talk about is actually setting an alarm clock and waking yourself up and then going back to sleep, because it's when you're in that in between asleep and awake state that you're really going to be able to have a lucid dream, because what you're going to basically do is be able to stay aware, stay conscious that you're going into the dream realm, and it's literally like you're going to slip right into it. I have this thing that I do sometimes where I'll wake up and then I'll be like, ooh, I was having a dream, and I'll recall it in that moment. So it's really good to use your imagination, use that muscle that's your imagination. That's the same muscle that you're going to be using when you're dreaming, and just be like, oh my gosh, and this happened and that happened. Even if it's just to yourself, to recall the details of the dream, and that you can actually walk back into that dream. I hope that makes sense. So it's like you're going from a dream to a daydream back into a dream. And that's what breaks that barrier between the awake and asleep. And then you're just lucid. And then what happens is, many of you probably also experience, is that you'll have a lot of times during the day when you're just in a daydream, when you're just in a vision, you're seeing something and it's like it's a dream, but because you're accessing those higher states of consciousness, you're going to absolutely be able to receive information that's valid. Now, of course, we kind of talked about this last time, that when you go into the dream realm, the first thing you kind of encounter is your subconscious mind, your subconscious beliefs. So this is why some people, when they start dreaming, they have nonsensical dreams, or when they start really getting into dream work, or maybe thus far they were I've never had a prophetic dream, or I've never had, a dream of a vision of the future, or I've never had, a dream where I've connected to an ancestor or a deceased loved one or an angel or whatever. It's because you're kind of still in that first layer of the astral, which is really connected to your mental body, and it's really connected to your belief. So if you have, let's say, a lot of fear, it makes sense that when you first kind of go into the dream realm, your imagination is going to be creating in the dream scary things, right? So just know that that in and of itself doesn't mean that that's all that's there. It just means that at this particular time, right, that you're bringing those thoughts forward, right? You're bringing those thoughts forward. So this is also why I say that doing a nighttime routine for me is one of the best ways to do dream work. Because think about it, if you're going to sleep with I just checked social media and it's drama and I'm reading the news and I'm watching reality TV, and then you go to sleep, that's what you're going to dream about, right? You're not going to have this profound dream state, because you're going to be taking that state of consciousness right into the dream realm with you, and you're going to be creating from your mind in that way. So try as best as possible to establish a nighttime routine. So we're going to talk about that next. I love Tor, as you said. I actually walked myself back into a dream from the first time last week. Never thought it was possible until the first class. Yes, I've literally like been like, okay, and in the way that I perceive it is I'm like, okay, I'm going back in. So I've actually brought over my eye mask, my nighttime eye mask. So I'm pretty serious about this stuff, you guys. So what I'll do is I'll wake up from the dream. I'll recall the dream and I'll recall the details. I might write some details down. One thing I'll say that I'm not great about is writing them down. Even though I like tell everyone, always write your dreams down, I just don't. I always just tell my subconscious, if you need me to remember, remind me later, because I'm kind of lazy. But I do say to myself that I know that I need to write things down more, because I'm like, oh shoot, I need to have that ability to go through and recall my dreams, because I know there's messages there. So sometimes I will jot some things down in my phone, but nevertheless, what I'll do is when I wake up and I've been having a good dream, I'll be like, okay, I'm going back in. And I'll put my eye mask on and I'll go back to sleep. Now, the thing about the eye mask that's great is this. Typically, unless you have light blocking curtains, and even if you do, whoa, that thing looks intense. It's so great. And I can tell you the brand too if you want me to. The eye things are adjustable. And the reason this one is cool is because it is it's set up in a way where your lashes are not impacted, right? So that you can have that REM, that rapid eye movement, because it's important for your eye to be able to move, right? So you have enough space for your eyelashes to move, so it's not squishing your eyes. You can also adjust it's Velcro, so you can adjust if you need to make them come in more. And this is another random thing. The Velcro is not the kind of Velcro that's going to catch in your hair. And that maybe seems silly, but when you're putting on these on and off and it's constantly catching in your hair, it's a pain. So yeah, I'm kind of picky when it comes to this kind of stuff. So this is by Manta Sleep. So yeah, this is one I love, and I have a couple different pair. I have a pair that I travel with that is not the super duper pair. And I use it on airplanes and everything. And I just came back from Toronto last week, and I brought my eye mask on the flight, and I had a dream on the plane. I was like, whoa, this is like a level up even for me. Because I usually, like, the time that I'm on the plane, I just spend it like reading a book or whatever, but I actually got some dreaming in. So that was all due to the eye mask. And the thing about the eye mask is this: your pineal gland is impacted by darkness, right? So the ability for your pineal gland to produce more of that DMT, which is what is related to, again, the easiest way to associate DMT is with the plant medicine ayahuasca. So people that do ayahuasca ceremony actually access that very, very lucid state of shamanic journeying and dream work because of the amount of DMT that's in it. So we naturally produce DMT at the time of night that's usually between 4 and 6 and 7. So we all do. Depending on like the health of your pineal gland, obviously is going to affect how much DMT you produce. This is what people often refer to when they talk about being woke, or their third eye's awakened, right? That they've decalcified their pineal gland. And some things, and I know you guys asked me to talk about that a little bit. So just off the cuff, some things that help to decalcify the pineal gland are getting rid of fluoride. So drinking water without fluoride. So fluoride is something that calcifies your pineal gland. So getting rid of fluoride, changing out your toothpaste to have non-fluoride toothpaste, using filtered water, getting a good amount of minerals. Also, there are different activities and things you can do for kind of like strengthening the third eye, but a lot of it is dietary. Ginger is amazing for the pineal gland. Neem, which is another amazing plant, is amazing for the pineal gland. So there's a lot of things you can do for the health of the pineal gland to make sure that your third eye is woke, right? That helps you to have vision. So again, we probably talked about this in intuitive guidance class, how people have different ways that they experience their extrasensory gifts, specifically sound treatments. Oh, amazing. Yeah. So there's also a light treatment called the Lucia light, and they actually beam this light into your third eye, and it induces you into the hypnagogic state, which is the dream state. If you have a place like a sensory deprivation place near you, you can look into it. They probably have the Lucia light. It's one of my all-time favorite treatments. And they beam it into your third eye, and what it looks like is a million kaleidoscopes. That's what it looks like. It looks, when you have your eyes closed, but behind your eyes, you basically see all of these like kaleidoscope things. So it actually helps you to see another layer of reality, right? So all that to say, how open and awakened and decalcified your pineal gland determines how much DMT you have, and determines how much of your visionary mind you have access to. So if you can picture, some people cannot picture things in their mind's eye. Like if you close your eyes and you are thinking about being on the beach, some people can feel it, but some people can't see it. So your ability to actually perceive and see is based on your third eye. Some people say that it's very, very rare to have your third eye all the way decalcified, and that when you have your third eye all the way open, all the way awakened, you actually see spirits, you see auras, you see all of that. So I personally don't have that level of activation, but my other sensory gifts are extremely strong. But I do have absolutely the ability to receive visions and perceive visions. And so my dreams are very, very vibrant. They're very vivid. The colors and everything like that are very vivid. So again, that has to do with the health of the pineal gland. So being in the dark, oh, medicinal mushrooms. Oh yes, shout out to medicinal mushrooms. Absolutely. Another great thing. I mean, the benefits of medicinal mushrooms across the board are epic. And I do have a list that I'm going to talk about in a little bit of all the plants that I think benefit dreaming specifically in a little bit. But the last thing I want to say about this, again, is that this completely blocks out all light. So this actually keeps you in that state where your mind and everything feels like you're in complete darkness, you're in complete night. So it's so much easier for you to go back to sleep. Now, this was actually a level up for me this year. When I actually started using these because I just wanted to get more sleep. I was noticing that in the morning when the sun would start to come up, very, very faint, my body would naturally kind of say, it's time to wake up. And even if I wouldn't get out of bed and I could still lay around and rest, I wouldn't really be in that deep sleep state. So I actually started intuitively just putting an eye mask on just to be able to get more sleep. And I would put an eye mask on and I would put a headset on and I would put on either binaural beats or some kind of like self-radio frequencies. And I would realize that I was having more and more and more dreams. That's when I started having those nights when I was having like 4 dreams a night. And the dreams that I were having, I would get like a question that I might have in the daytime. I would have like 4 different answers to it at night. So I actually started asking questions before I go to sleep. Or I would say, for example, let's say that you have a relationship with someone and you're trying to figure out, is it time to move on? Or are you supposed to create a project with this person? Or whatever questions you have about people in your life, I would say, show me them in my dream. I would say, show me more in my dream. And I would have a clear dream. I'll give you an example. A dream that I had this past week is from someone in my life. And in the dream, I was having a huge event. And this person showed up to the event. I didn't know they were going to come. They just showed up. And even though the event was like full of people that I loved and full of like people that I want to spend time with, I was completely immersed in the conversation with this person. Me and this person were like locked. I don't know if you've ever had that experience where you've been out at a very social gathering, but for whatever reason, you and like one person are totally immersed in each other. You're like in your own world. So we were totally locked in this conversation, and we were laughing, and we were just having the time of our lives, and we were totally mesmerized with this conversation. So the next day I wake up and I was like, I couldn't figure out if that was a dream or if that was real. So I contacted the person and I said, I don't know if that was real or if that was a dream or if it even matters, right? Then I actually woke up. So I had a dream within a dream experience. And what was really, really interesting is that the question that had come up in the second layer of the dream. Now, this wasn't a lucid dream because I didn't realize I was dreaming in the dream, right? But it was totally an Inception style dream. The question that I said is, I don't know if I was actually with you or if it even matters, right? I don't know if that was real or is there even a difference at this point, you know? And then I actually woke up. So again, that gave me a lot of information. It's like the interpretation of the dream was like also in the other layer of the dream. And that's what I mean to say is that your subconscious can give you these layers of information, and it's a very clear thing, right? Now, this is someone who I actually have a lot of dreams with, a lot of dreams about, and I don't spend so much time with this person because this person lives farther away from me. But I have a lot of really, really clear, specific dreams with this person. I've had apocalyptic dreams with this person. I've had dreams on a spaceship with this person. So I've had a lot of experiences with this person in the dream realm, and they're very, very present in my dream relationship with them. And I guess that may have been a question that was on my mind is like, you know, wow, I don't really spend a lot of time with this person in the awakened time, but clearly from my dream perception, we're very, very close. And that got answered in the dream. This doesn't make a difference. There's actually no separation in terms of how you're relating to people. I can be doing all of the work, all of the relating, all of the connecting with this person that I need to through the dreams, right? And that's what I realized is doesn't matter. So that was a cool dream I had this week. So again, the wearing of the eye mask is one for sure thing that I do. Nighttime routine, right? Actually, what's interesting is the reason why I wanted Sukina to be the guest for this class is because she actually met me in a dream. And the way that her dream happened is that I wanted her to tell the story, but I'll tell it and maybe she can tell her version next time. So she actually had a dream that her mother was receiving a healing from someone. And her mother was looking really good and really vibrant. And she said to her mother, wow, you look really amazing. What have you been doing? And she said, I've been receiving distance healing from this woman named Miriam. And so that's when Sakina looked me up and found out who I was, contacted me, and I didn't remember this, but she told me later, like 2 years later, I guess, we met, and she said, I met you in a dream first. You did distance healing on my mother, and that's how I found you. Well, when I was traveling abroad, I ended up being at this Sufi gathering in London, and she was one of the artists. I was one of the artists that was performing there, and I was really excited to meet her once I interacted with her work. And she said, I had this dream about you. And of course, I went back and she said, I contacted you on Instagram, which, you know, of course, Instagram DMs, you know how that goes. She's like, contacted you on Instagram and told you that I had this dream about you. And that's how she met me. So that can also happen. You can absolutely interact with someone in a dream and then find out that that person's a real person and then interact with them in your real life. And so we were brought together, of course, through synchronicity, and all of that kind of stuff. And neither of us was surprised. And she and I have developed an amazing connection since then. She also has a lot of prophetic dreams, and she is going to and will talk about the importance of dreaming in the Sufi tradition, because she's also Sufi. And then, like I said, we'll be doing the poetry workshop with her, and that will be next month. So that'll be really beautiful. So she's a vivid dreamer as well, and a prophetic dreamer. So all that to say, everything can happen in the dream. I always, one of my quotes that I think gets spread around the most online is, I say, I love meeting someone in a dream and then finding them in reality. Because for me, sometimes someone will show up in a dream and they may not look like the person that you expected. They might not be in the form that you saw them in the dream, but if you pay attention to the essence, you'll realize that that's the person that you dreamt of, and that they showed up in your life. So again, nighttime routine is another important thing. So for me, what I like to do, if I'm like really on my game and I'm really like about that dreaming life, what I'll do is I'll definitely take a spiritual bath. I'll take a bath with essential oils and with salts, right? I'll take a bath with music and sound and candles, and I'll do the whole thing, and flower, petals, and all of that. Then I will absolutely set the mood with resins, with my essential oil diffuser. I would just set the energetic tone for a night of dreaming, and I will have sounds on. Usually I like to do a lot of like water sound just to kind of get myself ready for sleep. But then when I'm actually trying to go into the sleep time, I will do a lot of healing tones. I'll do solfeggio frequencies, or any of that kind of stuff. For me, I feel that water is a conduit for spirit. So not only do I use water for purification, but I also use water for sort of channeling. So I can be in that like daydream state in the water, right? And then I'll take that into sleep time. I also highly recommend, if you want to have dreams, no technology near your bed. If you can do no technology in your room, that's even better. If you can get into the habit of like, when I say technology, obviously you have like, I have like a record player and, a light, near my bed and all that kind of stuff. But what I mean is, if you could have a room with like none of that, that would be amazing, but it's not really realistic. So if you can at least like no computers near your bed, maybe no cell phone near your bed, minimizing the EMF, right? Because all of those EMF frequencies definitely throw off your own personal energy field, and they're just going to create distraction. So yeah, so nighttime routine. So nighttime routine, setting the intention, and even if the intention is just as simple as, tonight I'm going to have a dream. Could having the phone near you in your bed be distracting even if it's off? So it depends on how sensitive you are. Some people put their phone on airplane mode, and I know people that are really, really highly sensitive people that, like my old energy body worker, you cannot have your phone on, in like, he was like, turn your phone off before you come in, or leave it out, because he was extremely sensitive to it. And I remember one time when I had forgotten to do it, and he was like, is your phone by any chance on you? And he felt it. So it depends on how sensitive you are. I would recommend trying and seeing and seeing. If your phone's off, why even have it near you? I mean, I guess that would be my question. And we're still learning about these technologies, right? And how much EMF they're giving off. So we don't really know. But you can also have, and I don't have it on this phone, you can also have those stickers that help to dissipate the energy, right? Or you can have Organite or something like that near you. I personally am extremely sensitive to any kind of crystals. I have no crystals in my bedroom, and that's just me, right? So some people like to fill their room with crystals. It's not my thing. You guys have seen my bedroom. My room is filled with plants. My room is filled with plants, and I have no crystals near me. I do not sleep well with crystals in my room. So again, that's everyone has their own personal thing. But I would get, familiar with what works for you and figure out your thing, and you'll know. So just be aware of that. And check it out for yourself, because again, obviously people are gonna tell you different things. They're gonna say, this always works or this never works. And what they're saying is it always works for them or doesn't work for them. I personally have a lot of Organite towers around my where I work, my computer area where I work. But again, I don't have any of that kind of stuff in my bedroom. So that's something else people can check into for yourself. And let's see what else. Also, general things like just feng shui, like if you have a general sense of kind of feng shui in your room. And again, I'm not an expert on feng shui, but I do abide by some of the principles, which is, for example, don't have your bed with a window behind you. Also, don't have your bed facing the door, right? The outside door. And also, if possible, not to have a bathroom behind your bed. So there's those kinds of things that can help in terms of like, what you're doing with your bed energetically, to help keep the flow of energy in the room supportive for dream practice. Okay. Let's see. All right. So let's talk about let's talk about herbs a little bit first. Now, one of the things also that I have started using recently that has absolutely leveled up my dream is Ormus. Now, this is something that you may not have heard of yet, or maybe you have. It's kind of new to me, and it's basically monoatomic gold and a couple other minerals prepared in this specific way that it helps to activate your consciousness. I was really like wanting to work with it for a while, but I was like, for the right time. It's called ORMUS. And I am happy to let you all know about the brand that I ended up with. I can get the bottle and show you all. I would absolutely do your research, of course, but it resonated with me as someone that tends to be really sensitive to minerals. So a lot of people, I don't know if you are aware of like the supplements and all the things that you need, but for me, what mostly comes up through muscle testing is that I need minerals. So minerals is something that I am constantly revisiting colloidal silver. I'm constantly revisiting magnesium, calcium. And so this is basically a combination of many minerals, including gold, monoatomic gold. Now, this goes back to ancient Egyptian times that people were using gold, right? And just check in to see. Now, some people have said they've had really super profound third eye awakening experiences with Ormus, and all of that kind of stuff. So do your research for sure. I know that if you're a highly sensitive person, again, with any of this kind of stuff, just take your time, use your intuition and all of that. So again, I'm just saying that it is something that I personally have been using, and check in with yourself and see if that's something that resonates. Other than that, the herbs that I love for dream work are Kali Z. So I mentioned Kali Z last time when I created a dream work kit, which was my first kit that I ever made to sell, right? I included dream herbs capsules. I made capsules. And what I would do is I would, and again, I'm not advocating anyone else do this. I'm just telling you what I did. And I have a pretty advanced plant medicine practice, so I feel very comfortable with this, is that I would smoke mugwort first before I would go to sleep. I would drink a tea with mugwort in it, and then I would smoke a little bit of mugwort. Then I would go to sleep, and then I would, in the middle of the night or in the morning, let's say 4 a.m., I would wake up and I would take a capsule that had Kalia Z and a couple of other herbs in it at the time. And when I was, and this is I believe it's an African dream herb, if I remember correctly. I had to get it on the internet. But again, when I worked with it, I remembered having the most vivid, most intense dreams. And it's spelled Calea, and the last name is very, very long, but it just starts with a Z. So Kalia Z. So that's one that you'd have to locate and trust that you're getting it from a good source. Other than that, what I love is ginkgo biloba, which is just a general great brain herb. It's great for memory. It's great for all of that kind of stuff related to brain. I love valerian is a root. Valerian, I would always recommend getting in a capsule form because it tastes horrible. It smells and tastes horrible. Never try to drink it, but I would take it in a capsule form. I currently have capsules that I made that have valerian, lemon balm, passion flower in it, and one other thing I can't remember, maybe hops. And it is one that I can take in the daytime if I need calming, relaxation, or I could take a couple of them at night to help me fall asleep. So if I'm having any kind of, I usually travel with them. Sometimes I have a little bit of insomnia when I am traveling. Usually puts me right to sleep. So valerian helps me go to sleep, relax and go to sleep. So a little bit of muscle relaxant in that. And then the other one is kava kava. I work with kava in a ceremonial way. So if you never worked with kava, kava is another root. It's a root that is pretty well known throughout various islands. So for example, Hawaii Island, actually the kava that I have is from Hawaii Island. And kava was traditionally used in a ceremonial way. You would drink the kava. You actually drink the kava cold. I've seen some people prepare kava as a tea. It does not have the benefits if you prepare it that way, so just know that. It's actually prepared cold, and it is a very, very, very relaxing. So kava, if you wanted to take it as capsules or even as a tincture, if you have any kind of anxiety, it's super great. But if you want to use it ceremonially, it's great for forgiveness work. Doing the Ho'oponopono. Like if you have someone that you need to do some kind of healing work with and you do kava ceremony with each other, it makes you feel so relaxed and so connected to the person, so kind of like giggly and laughy. And there's different grades of kava. I've heard that you can kind of get kava drunk. I know there's like kava bars. I know that's a thing now too. I don't know about the way that it's prepared. I was taught how to do it ceremonially. So there's actually a specific prayer that you use before you do kava ceremony. So that's the way that I use it. And it's amazing. I love it. I've often said that I would love to do kava ceremony as a ceremony to offer people, but it's never happened. I do it within my own community, but I would love to be able to do kava ceremony with people. So kava, let's see what else. Mugwort, I gotta say, mugwort is an interesting one because I know it's very popular for dream work, but I actually found that it's not my favorite. I don't like to necessarily drink mugwort. I do have mugwort in my psychic ability tea, as well as another herb called eyebright. That is a very good herb for awakening psychic intuitive gifts. So eyebright is definitely another one that I would recommend for lucid dreaming. But in the tea blend that I actually make for dream, it has chamomile, lavender, peppermint, oat straw, which is a nervine. It's a very nourishing herb for the nerves. Ginkgo, and gosh, what else is in it? I just made a batch because that's what everyone's getting this month for the resonance box. Chamomile, lavender, oat straw, peppermint, lemongrass, and passion flower. So that's what's in that. So that's the blend that I think is like universal. Like think about it. Chamomile, lavender, peppermint. Like I feel like those are universal. So that's why I have them as my Sweet Dreams tea blend that I sell in my shop. And that's what everyone's getting this month for the Resonance Box. And then you can add in different things. If you want to add mugwort in, you can. Like I said, it's not my favorite. Another one is I wrote some down. So excuse me for a second. I'm going to look up. Oh, let's see. Where did I put them? I put them in my notes. Okay, chamomile, lavender, kava, caliazepam. Wild asparagus is another great one. Mulan is another great one. And I think I mentioned everything else. So those are the herbs that I personally like for doing dream work. Oils that I like, and the oil blend that people are getting is also chamomile, lavender, peppermint. It has clary sage in it. What else is in that oil blend? Chamomile. The main things are chamomile, lavender, peppermint, and clary sage as oils, as essential oils. And again, if I was going to do the whole thing, I would put a little bit of the oil in the bath. And then you're also getting the spray. I would absolutely spray my whole bed down. So this is another great tool for going into dream work, is spraying your bed with the intention and the plant medicine that you want to use. So again, this sounds like a lot of steps, but this is like not an everyday nightly thing. I do dream work at specific times. So for example, now that we've been in this eclipse season, it's an important time for me to be receiving guidance, receiving information, channeling, getting downloads. So I'm doing more dream work than I would be doing other times. Like for example, my son goes back to school tomorrow, and I hope and pray that I still have dreams, because I'm going to be in a totally different rhythm. So just again, know that these are all things that you can incorporate, and I hope they're helpful. Doesn't mean that if you don't do them, you won't still have dreams. You absolutely can. But I just mean to say, when I really take the time and get super duper intentional with everything, that's when I really have those super profound experiences where I dream back to back to back. And that's also when I'm more likely to have a lucid dream. Okay, so, right. So next we're going to talk about the specific techniques that I like for dreaming. So the first thing that I said absolutely is to tell your subconscious mind that you are wanting to have a dream, and that you are going to remember the dream. So this is kind of in a way a form of autosuggestion, right? You're going to be, and you can take this suggestion as far as you want. So for example, you can repeat to yourself, the basic is, tonight in my dreams, I'll realize I'm dreaming and become consciously aware. So this is a different intention than the other one. The other one was like, tonight I will have a dream and I will wake up in time to remember what I dreamed, right? So that's just a basic dream intention, auto-suggestion. This is for a lucid dream. So the intention is, tonight in my dreams, I will realize I'm dreaming and become consciously aware, right? And now what you can also do is you can also let your subconscious mind know a trigger that will let you know within the dream that you're dreaming, right? So let's say, for example, you want to have a certain person be a trigger, right? A certain random friend. So let's say, and then the intention would be, tonight in my dream, when I see, right, Janelle, I'll realize I'm dreaming and become consciously aware. So again, this is another level up. It's another level up of like the auto-suggestion. It's giving your subconscious mind and your higher self these instructions so that you're working together, right? So tonight when I see, I know that's your boo. Tonight in my dreams, when I see Janelle, I will realize I'm dreaming and become consciously aware, right? So that, okay. So self-hypnosis, right? It gets really tricky when you're like, is it hypnosis? Is it meditation? Is it dreaming? They all overlap for sure. However, I do a lot of self-hypnosis. I started doing self-hypnosis about 6 years ago, maybe, before I wanted to be a hypnotherapist. It draws obviously on the same relaxation that helps you calm your body, relax stress hormones, focus your mind on affirming thoughts, right? The difference, I would say, between hypnotizing yourself and meditation is that it uses auto-suggestions to plant specific thoughts and affirmations, right? So you can basically hypnotize yourself. Even this first step of auto-suggestion is we're starting to get into hypnosis, right? But you can teach yourself to recognize that you're dreaming, right? And to trigger the lucidity, which is what we're talking about. And this will improve your dream recall. You can program your dreams to do more of what you want, right? And it can all be done through hypnotizing yourself. Now, obviously, maybe 6 years ago, there was not a lot of popularity of hypnosis. I actually had to buy like certain hypnosis programs. Now there's so many on YouTube. You can literally go. I haven't used any of them because sometimes they feel a little intense, but you could absolutely maybe find one you like, follow a lucid dreaming guided meditation from YouTube. And there's also sound recordings on YouTube for lucid dreaming that are said to trigger lucid dreaming. Like I said, I don't necessarily have any. I've done a lot of hypnotherapy recordings. I have never done a lucid dreaming one. I've done like past life regression ones and all kinds of other stuff, but I've never done a lucid dreaming one. So just check in with yourself to see if those work. Those are absolutely available. I think even when I first wrote my dream articles, I don't think that I saw any lucid dreaming guided meditations on YouTube, but now there's so many. So yes, okay. So, and if you have questions, you all can put questions into the Q&A. I see a couple of questions starting to pop up in the chat. Just remember to put your questions in the Q&A so that I can continue going through this, and then I can come back to the questions after. Right. Okay. The next one. Okay. So, Carlos Castaneda is another huge person that I learned a lot about dreaming with, right? And if you're not familiar with the Carlos Castaneda books, I would definitely look into them. They're one of the first sort of like metaphysical books that I probably came across. He has one called The Art of Dreaming. And he wrote a series of books that describe his training with a shaman, right? It's a particular group, a group called the Toltecs. So his primary teacher was this sorcerer named Don Juan, and this is what he wrote. Dreaming is the vehicle that brings the dreamers to this world, and everything sorcerers know about dreaming was taught to them by us. Our world is connected to yours by a door called dreams. We know how to go through the door, but most men don't, and they have to learn it. So again, this is just basically describing what we're talking about, is that there's this whole other realm that shamans and wizards all know about, and indigenous people and First Nations people, you know, are connected to, and they haven't lost their connection with it. And the Aboriginals talk often about dreaming and all of that. I think most First Nations people talk about dream work a lot, because they're medicine people, usually do healing work through, you know, whether it be ayahuasca ceremony or whatever it is, through going into some kind of trance state and accessing other realms. They understand that dreams is the connection, that's the doorway to that. So there's a method that he teaches, right? And if you do this consistently, this is the first time that I had a lucid dream that wasn't by accident. Most of my lucid dreams would come, I just would be like, oh, I'm awake in the dream. This was the first time when I used this method, when I did this consistently, that I had a stimulus response link, that I actually developed the stimulus and then it created the dream, right? So you're going to stare at your hands. Obviously, you're going to do all your preparation work. You're going to stare at your hands and you're going to say to yourself, tonight while I'm dreaming, I will see my hands and realize that I'm dreaming, right? And you're going to keep repeating this while you're looking at your hands. Tonight while I'm dreaming, I will see my hands and realize I'm dreaming. So this is the same trigger as the person, but it's just using your hands, right? And you want to keep doing this as you start to kind of go into this sleepy state. You want to do this right before you're going to sleep, right? Tonight while I'm dreaming, I will see my hands and realize that I'm dreaming. And then you allow your eyes to kind of cross and unfocus. So kind of allow your relationship with your hand to get like real wavy, right? So like cross your eyes and then unfocus. Start to kind of get to this point where your hands kind of like pop out in front of you, right? You're going to get sleepy, right? When you're in your dream, you're going to recall your intention to become awake in your dream with seeing your hand. So this is going to be your new trigger. And again, this is just done through repetition. And once you program this as your trigger, then you have this available to you to do. Right? Okay. Now, so the next technique is called MILD. It's called mild. And this technique makes use of your ability to recall your intentions in the future, making you more likely to remember your dream state, right? And as your memory improves, you'll notice more consistent results. So not only in achieving lucidity, but also in remembering actions and plans you have for your dream adventures, and having an easier time of waking up at that right moment. So this was developed by Dr. Stephen LaBarge, and it's from this book called Exploring the World of Lucid Dreaming, right? And there's a lot of lucid dreamer forums, and this one is a really popular one. Okay, so you're going to obviously do all your same sleep preparation. You're going to wake up and you're going to remember, and I kind of talked about it, you're going to wake up and you're going to remember the last details of the dream that you were just in. You can either spontaneously wake up, or you can set the alarm clock, right? But you want to take the time to recall the dream, whether it be you're going to write it down, you're going to, tell someone next to you if you have someone to tell, take a voice note or whatever you're going to do. Just sit there and recall, okay, so I was flying and then I was there, and you're going to just stay with that, right? Clearly imagine yourself in that, but becoming lucid. So again, this is getting into like daydreaming a little bit. So let me repeat that again. You're going to recall the details of your dream. So let's say you're on a boat. So you're on a boat and you're walking around the boat and you're talking to people, and that was what the dream was. So you're going to, in your vision, envision that same scenario, but you're going to envision that you wake up and you become lucid at the appropriate time, right? Visualize yourself becoming awake in this remembered dream. So then the intention's going to say, so the auto suggestion's going to say, next time I'm dreaming, I will recognize that I am dreaming. And you want to repeat this over and over again until you believe it. Right? So it's almost as if like you're programming it into your mind so strong that you have the expectation that you're like, oh, next time when I go into a dream, I'm going to recognize that I'm dreaming. Do it until you feel determined. Expect to become lucid and aware of your next dream as you fall back to sleep. So again, this is auto-suggesting as you're going back into sleep, I'm going to wake up in this next dream. Like, I just know it. Right? He recommends that you do a reality check to verify that you're dreaming. Now, some of these techniques can obviously be combined in your own way, and you can also develop your own techniques. These are just some of the ones that I've had success with, and some of the ones that I have know other people that have had success with in their own version. A lot of this stuff I did on my own, not the hands one, but a lot of this other stuff I did on my own, and then I realized like, oh, that's a technique. Great. So he recommends doing a reality check, something like levitating or flying. I think I mentioned before that I have the most flying dreams, and then second the most in terms of lucid dreaming, I have the most swimming deep under the ocean, just like swimming the whole span of the ocean. Like a lot of times I'll even be flying over the ocean and then I'll just go in the ocean and I'll swim. Right. Okay. This other technique is called lucid mindset, right? And again, this is something that, you're like, oh, that's a thing. Okay, sure. Lucid mindset is to, and I kind of talked about this earlier, I think we weren't recording yet, and I was saying that I've had many, and think about it, my dream within a dream reflected this. I've had many moments where I'm like, am I dreaming right now or am I awake? Or I recall the conversation that I've had and I've asked the person, didn't I tell you such and such? And they're like, no, you didn't. And I'm like, oh, I must have told you in a dream. I must have had that conversation with you in a dream. For me, it's like they're constantly overlaid. What's the dream and what's awake? So he says develop a lucid mindset through basically asking yourself all the time if you're dreaming or awake. So when you're awake, if you constantly are asking yourself, am I a dreamer? Am I awake or am I in a dream? That this will translate into the dream. So you'll take that lucid mindset with you into the dream, right? So in other words, and he said some specifics about this, is throughout the day, when you have like a synchronicity or an interesting event, do a reality check, right? For example, even if you have a moment where you're like in a deja vu, you're like, am I dreaming or am I awake, right? And then do a reality check, try to fly, right? And let that just become a consistent enough thing that you do it when you're awake and you're asleep. And that's that technique. Okay. The next one, I call it nap to lucidity technique, right? And apparently this is a thing that the Lucidity Institute talked about. And it's basically nap time dreams. So the middle of the day, the middle of nowhere, you basically have a daytime nap. And I have so much success with dreams in my daytime naps. This is why you guys often hear me say my definition of success is being able to take spontaneous naps throughout the day. Because for me, having a lifestyle where I'm like, ooh, I need some answers. I need some information, and going and getting that information in a dream and in a nap time, that's it for me. That's the life, right? So I would definitely put my eye mask on and take a disco nap, have a cool dream, do all the same, I wouldn't say all the same steps, but maybe I would have a cup of tea, lay down, turn on the lights off, put some music on, and go into like a trance, basically. A little daytime trance nap. Okay, and then the next technique is going to be waking yourself up, right? So about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours before your normal wake up time. Well, depending on what your normal wake up time is, sometime between 4 and 6. Wake up, get up, right? Many spiritual teachings talk about this time between 4 and 6 is the best time for lucidity and melatonin and just all the things that your pineal gland is active, that you can use that time to sort of be in that wavy state. So again, this is different than when you like need to get all your sleep because you have to go to work. This is something that I do at a time when I have a lot of ability to be flexible with my schedule. I wake up. Now, this is an interesting thing for those of you who are fasters, those of you who fast, especially if you fast in the traditional way that the Sufi way, which is the Islamic way of fasting, and you wake up in basically the middle of the night to eat, I always have this experience of like having dreams. So time yourself, set the alarm clock, wake up. If you want to take like herbs at that time, the easiest way is capsules, because think about it, you don't want to be having to drink, bitter tasting, dream herbs or whatever in the middle of the night. Let's say you wanted to work with mugwort or whatever. Mugwort does not taste good. It's always better in a capsule, in my perspective. Take a couple of those, whatever it is going to increase your presence of serotonin, and stay awake enough and stay in that daydreaming state though, and then practice one of these techniques of like walking back into your dream. So I have had the most success with the nap time dreams and with this waking up early in the morning and then walking myself back into the same dream, recalling, it's like a combination of all the things, recalling the last dream I had, talking about it, and then visualizing like I'm going to go in the dream and I'm going to wake up. So yeah. So that's all the techniques that I have for you guys today. Awesome. So we have a good amount of time. That's everything I had today, because like I said, I prepared to have a guest teacher, but I would love to use the rest of the time to answer questions and to do whole dream court. For those of you that weren't with us last time, the way that we did dream court is that someone will come on and share their dream with us. If you want to come on, you don't have to come on with your visual. You can just come on with audio. If you want to come on visual, you're welcome. And you'll share your dream, and then the rest of us will give you our interpretation of this dream. So we'll say, you know, in my dream of this dream, and we will share with you what we think about your dream. So let's do you guys want to do dream court first, or do you want to do questions first? You all can tell me in the chat. I'm open either way. And let me know what you all think. Burn a little Palo Santo. Dream court first and then Q&A. Okay, yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking as well. Okay, so who would like to go first to share their dream? Who would like to come on and share their dream? Hoda? Okay. Awesome. Okay. Oh, I was in it? Okay. Let's see. Okay, so it looks like if you raise your hand, if you want to share your dream, raise your hand. And then I will take people, and we'll take a few people. Okay. So I'm going to promote you to panelist, and then you can unmute yourself. Hello. Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, everyone. So excited to be on. This dream, this one was pretty cool. It actually happened at the beginning of the year, and you were in it, and it was wonderful. It was a beautiful scenery, and I was on a beach, and it seemed like I was washing up on the beach, and I've never been on a beach before, so it's really interesting. And
wait, hold on, I'm sorry, you've never been on a beach before?
Never ever in my life.
Oh.
I clearly sleep. But it's definitely on my bucket list because this dream was just so beautiful, and it was very palpable. Like I could feel the breeze, and I could see like the sunset, or I couldn't tell if it was a sunset or a sunrise, to be honest. And I just remember washing up on it, and you were on the beach, and it was just you.
I know I was.
And it was so lovely because I kind of washed up on it, and it was so tender because you kind of took my head into your lap and just kind of splashed some water on my face. And I remember looking up at you, and there was another figure there who just appeared, and it was a man. I
Ooh, was he handsome?
But I couldn't really. He was like kind of like shadowy, but his presence was definitely felt. His energy was
so serious. Okay.
Yeah. And he was. I just remember you taking my hand, and then taking his hand, and yeah.
That's real, girl.
Yeah. You were like my metaphysical matchmaker. I was just like,
oh my gosh, that is
like,
so good. Okay. So, okay, I'm gonna let you all tell what you think before I say what I think.
Yes.
In the chat. So, what do you all think of her dream? First of all, where do you live?
I live in New Orleans.
You live in New Orleans. Okay, I was gonna say I'm gonna come take you to the beach.
Yes, I will road trip and meet you in Oakland, and we can make it happen.
Seriously. Okay, what do you all think? What do you all think of her dream? What stood out to you? I see it as a baptism to your spiritual path. Oh, beautiful. I'd say you're allowing yourself to be led. Awesome. I love that metaphysical matchmaker. Washing her energy. Okay, entering new space of transformation.
Wow.
Beautiful.
Oh, y'all are so good. I have chills.
Feel like it's time for purification and divine union with self.
Mm, 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 mm.
Okay. Perhaps your work with Miriam is leading you to the self that is ready for your divine masculine match, whether internal or external. Hey. Awakening out from the subconscious, the ocean as the unconscious. Ooh, yes.
I love it.
Haha. Uniting her masculine and feminine sides. I love the interpretation that it's not externalized version of a male figure. I love that so much. Do those resonate?
Definitely, because I couldn't see who the person was.
Mm-hmm.
The energy was, it was kind of a shadow figure, but it wasn't ominous. It was very familiar.
Okay, that's what was going to be my question. I was going to say, what did the masculine energy feel like?
Very,
That it felt familiar.
very comforting.
Physical self as being pulled to places beyond what you have already experienced. Yes, a homecoming, integrating the masculine shadow. Aren't we all, though?
Oh my God.
Aren't we all, though?
And that's really what it was, a time period, not to get too personal, but where it was when I was sort of introduced to your work, and I was like diving in, and all of it felt sort of taboo, and all of it felt sort of like I wasn't supposed to go there, but it was kind of, I felt guided by you, and I was like, I can do this. Like, if she's doing it, I can do it. Like, we can all do this. So it was very, it felt like that marrying energy. Like I was definitely marrying something, but not, maybe not necessarily another person.
Yeah. I love that. I mean, because think about it, even other people that we meet are versions of us. Like they're aspects of us. We we experience people as if they're outside of us, but that's just part of the dream.
Mm-hmm.
We're all just I forget who said this, we're all just walking each other home. We're all just walking ourselves home. I can even remember if it's one or the other because to me it's the same.
Right.
Yeah, Ram Dass. Someone said in a very literal way, I also just think that the ocean is calling you. For sure, go to the ocean.
Y'all, let's make it happen.
Please, I need you to go to the ocean.
I definitely will. I definitely need to make that happen.
Okay, that's your homework.
Got it. Jot it down. Jot it down.
All right. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank y'all. I appreciate it.
I'm gonna put you back as an attendee.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay. All right, let's see. Brianna, are you ready? Would you like to go next? Let's see. Promote you to panelist. Hello. You can unmute your microphone down the bottom left if you haven't already.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes, hello.
Hi, I'm Poppy. I'm calling over from London. I'm Brianna. Brianna, sorry. I had a dream about you quite recently where you and I were walking through a garden, arm in arm, deep in conversation. It was a beautiful sunny day, and you were so close to my face, and I could feel your breath on my cheek. And I woke up in such a beautiful mood, and I was just wondering what your thoughts on that was.
Oh, so sweet. Sounds so sweet. Okay. Okay, you all, let's hear what you all think. You guys are really good dream interpreters, so I'm excited to hear what you all think about this one.
Okay, thank you.
Maybe you can mute your microphone if it's background noise. Okay, thank you. What do you all think of this one? Any thoughts? What stood out to you in this one? Any takers? Sometimes the short ones are not as easy. I feel like it's something about plant medicine. Okay. what else? Do we have any questions for her? Maybe we have some questions that we want. My dream of this dream has something to do with experiencing intimacy or coming alive. I'm thinking about the breath of life refreshing and revitalizing you. Nice. The flowers stood out. Perhaps flower medicine is calling. Maybe Miriam is an external example of your own divinity, and feeling beautiful and serene and close to that is how you feel about your self-realization. Nice. It feels very Garden of Eden. Brianna asked, was the garden familiar?
I think it was actually, strangely enough, as we've never met, but it felt very similar to the garden that I think I've seen in images that you show of your house. But it was amplified. So we were walking through your garden, because I remember the shapes, the outline of the planter boxes and the squares, the right angles. And it was very green, and it was very normal. There wasn't anything abnormal about it at all. We were just walking, and there was lots of green, and it was beautiful and sunny, and yeah. But it was so strange waking up with with like your breath or anyone's breath, I suppose, the feeling of your breath or anyone's breath on your face. You know, when your head's so close together, and you're just like, oh, having a little chat, and yeah, it was just so surreal.
I really love the interpretation of intimacy, because I think that that's, for me, something that I'm constantly exploring the boundaries of with people, and I'm constantly exploring the boundaries of intimacy in non-romantic relationships. You know, for example, I'm someone who will hold hands with someone. I'm someone who will, me and my mom kiss on the lips. Me and my sister kiss on the lips. I'm someone who kisses other women folk friend of mine on the lips. It's very, like, I don't really have a lot of intimacy sort of like fear or boundaries or anything like that, like the way that a lot of other people do. And I've been having this like running conversation with people in my community around like that I don't like romance, that I like intimacy. And for me, the reason I say that is because, again, romance often feels like it's these cliche gestures, these overt like, kind of like projections of what we think intimacy is. And it's very oftentimes like really missing the mark, because intimacy can just be as simple as, for me, I guess the best way to describe it is the way that I would describe my relationship with children. Like I definitely like rub noses with them, and I do like eyelash kisses with them, and I definitely just smell them and all those kinds of things. So that's definitely the way that I play. I definitely see me, my breath being on someone and me being up in someone's face really, really close with no problem. So that for sure for me resonated. And then obviously, the the metaphor of the garden is so abundant. It's just abundance. To me, the garden is always abundance. And let's see, a couple other people, the garden may represent heart opening. I feel a sense of being at home, like this is where we're supposed to be, and able to be vulnerable and intimate. Totally, that's what I felt. I feel like being in the garden is calling you to explore its medicine, and that Miriam's approach is resonating with you, and Mother Earth is calling you. So I feel like it's interesting for me because someone that I'm intimate with just to me said something just this week about falling in love with flowers every day, right? So it's that kind of thing. It's like love can happen just in your interaction with a plant. And maybe sometimes that's a safer place. Oftentimes, people have service animals because it's a safe place to have intimacy without a lot of the emotional baggage. So like I said, I spend a good portion of my day every day watering my plants, talking to them, singing to them, getting to know them, listening to them, and so again, the garden for me just represents all of that of feeling of abundance. So yeah, so thank you so much. That was
Thank you so much.
I love all of you have me representing different people in your dreams. That's really sweet. Okay, I'm going to put you back as attendee. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, let's see who else has their hands up. All right. Okay, Nadia, are you ready? I'm going to promote you to panelist. All right. And you can unmute your microphone. Hi. Welcome.
Okay, this is a weird dream for me, but I had a dream that I woke up in my friend's home and I knew it was her home, but it didn't look familiar at all. And I was talking to her mother, who was telling me about Christianity and like why I needed to focus on Jesus and the Bible. And it was weird because she's not a religious person and I come from that very religious background. And it almost felt to me like I was like homeless in some way, that she was taking me in and she was showing me the right way to do things. And it was like really early in the morning and she was going to show me like where to get breakfast. And my friend who lives with her mother was not anywhere to be found. And me and her have been going into endeavors that explore spirituality outside of the realm, within and outside of the realm of religion. So yeah, it was just really left field for me, and I do not know how to process.
Wow. Let's hear you guys' thoughts on that one. Awesome. While we're waiting for that, I see Brianna has a comment. She said, I was sitting with my Reiki healer, Poppy, about to attend your class, and she told me she had a dream about you, and I told her she had to attend this class because it's about dreaming. One thing I will say to you all is that the way that I call people in, I've done this forever, the way that I call, this might seem great, it might seem weird, it might seem like it makes sense, but the way that I call people in to my life, and I'll talk more about this next class, is that I don't think that we need to do a lot of like branding, marketing kind of stuff, because what I did when I was doing one-on-one clients, and I don't do it so much now, but when I was doing one-on-one clients, the way that I would call people in is that I would visualize myself connecting with them telepathically through their hearts, and I would envision what I have to offer being received by them in their heart and it illuminating them. So the way that this would often show up is that people would have a dream about me, or they would come across me and they would feel called to me. So I always want to work with people that feel called to me, not people that are like, I'm following a trend of, following magical people or this or that or whatever. Not to say that that's wrong, but I always trust the universe's orchestration of like me putting the call out there and then people receiving the call. And one of the most common ways that it would happen is that people would say, I had a dream about you and I knew I had to work with you. And I would always trust that. So if you've had that happen, know that that's not an accident, that I am intending that, and I am doing a lot of that work in the astral to connect with you all who we do have a divine appointment to do work together. And I do that to call in people in a lot of different ways in my life. But so yes, just to answer that, that is a way that I show up in people's dreams because of that often. Okay, so the question someone had is, what is your relationship with Christianity at the time of this dream for you, Nadia?
I think for me, that's been my spiritual foundation. I've done a lot of study since I was 12, really, and now at this point in my life, in my early 20s, I'm really exploring like numerology, astrology, just like different modalities of understanding spirituality. So it's very vast and open, and I can interpret things in the Bible with like a larger lens that is also comparative across religions. Within my family, they also practice Islam and Hinduism as well. So within my own like family spiritual life and upbringing, there's just like a lot of different influences that I'm now exploring.
Very cool. Sounds a lot like my journey. Someone said, my dream of your dream stems from your exploration of spirituality and that it may signal your subconscious concerns about the impact of your exploration on your family's commitment to religion as a potential conflict for your exploration. Perhaps it will serve as a catalyst for your existing community. I love that. It could be your inner child coming to terms with your own current spiritual path, the inner child who's needing to be mothered.
That's interesting.
I feel like maybe you're questioning your own authority in an opening new horizons kind of way. Okay, what else? What else stood out? What I find is oftentimes in the dream, there is what I would call dream distortion, which means you'll be in a place that you know where you are, but for whatever reason, the details are wrong.
Right.
So you'll be like, I know this is this person's house by how it felt, but in the dream, your house was a boat or something, and it's not really a boat, right? So that definitely happens. So a letting go of old paradigms, perhaps a new opening. Very, very interesting. Do you have any, do you have a feeling in your life right now as you're exploring this that other people will not understand?
Yes. I feel like I'm constantly wrestling with feeling misunderstood. And I've felt more called to talk about some of the insights I've been getting on a spiritual platform. And because like I'm soaking up New Earth Mystery School and I'm constantly like listening to, deep astrology videos and whatever it is, sometimes I'm concerned that when I do share, it's at this other level that, people don't have the basic foundation to understand. And I'm wrestling with like being at peace with that. And like you said, the people who need to hear what I have to say will be called in versus like packaging myself and the information that I have for just like consumption and for people to understand me and for me to feel understood as a human.
Sure. Welcome to my life. I spoke on a panel this past week at VSCO headquarters. It's an app. I don't really post a lot of pictures online, so I'd never used the app myself, but I understand that it's a pretty popular one on social media for people, especially people that post, like, their platform is a lot of pictures. It's like an app that says you can do filters and stuff with. So it's pretty cool. So their headquarters are here in the Bay, and they asked me to speak on a panel there with other people about social media and branding. And so when they contacted me, it's actually someone that I know that said, hey, this collective and this, they know they love your work and they'd love you to speak on this panel. And I said, I don't really care about social media and branding. I got to be honest. I don't really think it's that important as people think it is. And I said, so I don't know that I'm a good candidate to speak on the panel. And she said, well, no, people would want to hear what you have to say because it's a different perspective. So all that to say, I went into this panel, and I can tell you, even probably up to the first 5 minutes in the panel, I had this feeling of like, people aren't going to be ready to hear what I have to say. And I brought that with me. And thankfully, there was something else running energetically that
Yeah.
allowed for me not to manifest that as the reality.
Right.
But I had to actually kind of check myself afterwards, because not only were people ready, but they loved it. I mean, people were like, everyone was just like wanting to talk to me and wanting to accept him. They were like, everything you're saying is so, like, it resonated so much. It was so fresh. Even one woman on the actual panel at one point had the microphone, leaned over and looked, and she was like, I really like you, and and I went in there with a little bit of like trepidation around, like, oh my, my way that I perceive things is so out there. And it wasn't. It was completely well received, and people felt affirmed. People were like, I really needed to hear that. And basically what I said is that, I feel like I have a message, and I feel like I have a calling, and I feel like that is bigger than social media.
Right.
And I feel like social media is a place where I do share my work. And I am on there. And the reason is because I do not need my voice, my message to have mass appeal. What I prefer is that when that person that really needs the message that I have to share hears it, it's not going to be watered down. It's going to be so potent that when they hear it, they're going to be like, this is exactly what I needed, unmistakably. And it's going to get them through whatever it is that they're going through. And I said, this is why I don't water down what I'm talking about. I am here to advocate for highly sensitive people, for people who have extrasensory gifts, and for people that are intuitives, to be able to be empowered in the world and to trust their intuition. And I said, so I understand that what I talk about is niche, and I'm so okay with that, because the impact that I actually have on the person that is going through a spiritual awakening is what I'm there for. And it's because when I was going through my spiritual awakening, I got on social media because I was looking for someone that I could not follow, but someone that I could just be like, okay, there's someone else talking about this, so I know I'm not crazy.
Yeah.
Right? So I was like, I am just on social media. I was like, I never think about how to get more followers. I never think about how, like, I just don't think like that. It's
Right.
not why I'm there. And literally that for people was mind-blowing. The fact that I was like, I'm someone that's here to live my purpose, and I just so happen to use social media because it's a way to actually reach the people that need my message. And it's not about like, trying to get more followers or trying to, all that kind of stuff. And it was, people really wanted to hear that. They wanted to hear that at the end of the day, the work is more important than marketing and branding and algorithms and all that kind of stuff. And so kind of went on a little bit of a soapbox there. But again, I went in there with the feeling that people aren't ready for me, that people aren't ready for what I have to say, because it was kind of a more, mainstream corporate environment that I was going into. I just kind of had the feeling of like, people still don't want to hear about intuition. People still want to hear about science, and they want to hear about, proof, and they don't want to hear about magic and metaphysics. And I was like, I teach magic. That's,
Yeah.
And people were just like, oh my God, like, this is amazing. So just, I would say, that your subconscious is letting you know for sure that there is some belief running that is telling you that you can't necessarily fully trust yourself. And I think someone said this is, you're learning to trust your authority, right? Think about how long we've been told that what our internal wisdom isn't good enough. And think about all the messages that we received about, like, oh, you can't possibly read the Quran or the Torah or, any other sacred text and like read it and find wisdom in it that is profound. Well, of course you can.
Right.
You need some scholar to interpret it for you. You can't, no,
Right.
we're off that paradigm. So it does feel like you're learning to just, you're on the journey of like refining your voice, really being able to hear your voice and also being able to share it unapologetically, and to not water that down, and to trust what's coming through, and trust your own authority, and trust your own wisdom.
This is so good. Thank you so much. Yeah, I really needed to hear that. That's major, major, major confirmation. Because the response you talk about is exactly the type of response I get despite the fears and doubt.
Yeah, yeah. That's why it was funny. It was just funny because my partner was like, "When do people not love you?" I'm like, "No, it always happens." He was like, "Not really." He's like, "I always hear you say everyone loved me," And I was like, "Wow, that's super interesting that I'm still running that narrative a little bit in the way of like people aren't ready for me, and what I'm saying is so different." And at one time it was, but it's just not really true anymore.
Right.
So I would just reaffirm that, what you know, right? Which is that the people that are ready for you will be ready, and that's it. It's all that matters.
Right. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing. And I'm going to put you back in as attendee.
Thanks.
All right. So much coming through dreams. So wonderful. Okay, let's do probably, see how much time we have for it. Maybe we'll do 2 more. And then we're going to do questions. Okay, so Kimiko. Hello. And you can unmute your microphone. Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, so the dreams, I think I want to put out like a trigger warning about like sexual assault, because it wasn't like super vivid in that regard, but I think if anyone needs that,
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to say that. And this is like, so my dream kind of relates to like my, this mentor in my life that I also work for. And, and I also do childcare for her kids. And I've been feeling like a lot of maybe I've been trying to work more on like my boundaries with her, but I was actually house sitting for her a couple weeks ago, and I had 2 really vivid dreams really early in the morning. And the first one, I had a dream where my sister committed suicide, and it like completely, like I remember feeling my heart racing, and I was like just shutting down and in denial. And then I was suddenly at a friend of mine's house who I used to live with, and there was a big photo of her brother on the wall. And somehow she communicated to me that like he had committed suicide, and that was her way of honoring him. And then somehow that like broke the spell of like my denial, and I just started panicking and crying. And then I woke up like with my heart racing and was like, just really out of it. And then I kind of calmed myself back into sleep. And then I had another dream like right away about this spiritual teacher that I've been going to a school with, and he was teaching a lesson about inner child wounds. It's like maybe obvious or not, I'm not sure, but he took my mentor's daughter, who's about 5 years old, on his lap, and then he first touched the top of her head, and she pushed his hand away, and then he touched her belly, and she didn't do anything. Then he touched like her kind of like her pubic bone area, and then he bit her nose. And in front of like, this was all in front of a class, like he was doing this as sort of like teaching the class something. And then he asked her what hurt the most, and she points to her nose. And then he was like, which was fine? And she pointed to her belly. And then he said, which one did you like the least? And she pointed down to like her pubic area. And then I saw her mother, like my mentor, like taking the little girl by the hand and like leaving in tears. And then there was something about him saying like, I've been coming to this school for like twice a week to this school, and that I've settled into being there twice a week. And he could see that I had just settled, but did I know why I was coming? And then he said that the reason he taught the class that way was to unsettle the stem of which I was a branch. And then I don't know, it was kind of bizarre. And then I like woke up and yeah, that was kind of it.
Wow. That's deep. A lot of layers there. What do you all think? What do you all think about that one? When there's some feedbacks what stood out? What I noticed right off the bat about the dream is that there's a lot of specificity in the second part, mainly looking at the second part. There's a lot of specificity in that process that the teacher went through with the child, which makes it hard to disregard. Sometimes stuff happens in dreams and you're like, that doesn't even make any sense, and it's just kind of like, nonsense, so to speak. That was all really specific, especially for him to come back and ask the questions. I thought that was really interesting. So someone asked, what's your relationship with your sister? Are you worried about her? And your response to that is, oh, you texted. Okay. Do you want to tell your response? Do you want to say out loud your response to that question, Kimiko? Maybe you're not. Maybe your microphone's not unmuted or muted.
Oh, oops. Sorry about that.
Sure.
Yeah. So I texted my sister and she said that she was okay. But yeah, we're pretty close. So I was like very worried about her. And I've definitely had sort of ESP dreams with her, or like tuned into like things going on in her life before, and talked to her about them. She was like, whoa, that's crazy. I just had this thing happen. So I think that like scared me even more. Like, what if this is actually happening?
Mm-hmm. And just for another question, what is your belief system around suicide? Like, do you have a current belief system around suicide? Like, do you consider it a sin, or do you consider it like, do you have any sort of belief system around suicide?
I guess my belief system around suicide is that it's like an exit route, but you kind of wind back up. I mean, I believe in reincarnation, so I believe like you end up coming back into the world with the same emotions that you left it in. And so, and I think the other thing too that was kind of jarring is like I've had other dreams about this mentor of mine that have been kind of intense. Like one dream I had, like something about like her husband and I had like an affair or something in like a past life. And then another one, she had said to me something about how I'm not worthy. And I remember just feeling really like destroyed by that or something.
Someone said here, first thing that jumps out to me is maybe you're too enmeshed with your mentors, and maybe you're ready to create some space between you and them and trust yourself more. They relate to an inner child wound that is seeking healing at this time. Mm-hmm. Someone else said, I feel like our subconscious plays all the roles in our dreams for a reason. I wonder if for the second dream, your subconscious was suggesting to be discerning of spiritual practices and teachings. Very important. I do often think that sometimes we come into work with people, just relationships, working with people as spiritual teachers. Often people are playing the role of catalyst and awakener, even if they don't have the title of spiritual teacher or mentor or something, but they're here as a catalyst. And then when our time with them is done, something will happen that will sort of catapult us apart from them, especially if we've been receiving the message that it's time to move on and we're not taking heed. So I'm also curious about, and that's something, that you can, obviously sit with on your own. I wonder, and if you can start to pay attention to your body when you're, in these spaces and when you're connecting, whether it be in the dream or in the real time through meditation or in actual physical sense, are you getting subtle messages that it's time to move out of this relationship, right? That can happen as well. And it can show up as that the practices that this person is doing no longer resonate with you, right? It doesn't have to be a bad thing. It doesn't have to be that, the practices they're doing are wrong, but it can be that I don't need that type of practice anymore, right? Like, I don't need someone to, like, I'm not at the point in my journey where I need to experience someone crossing my boundaries, right, in order to know that it's time to love myself. At certain times, we do need those kinds of lessons, right? But at other times, it's like, I don't need that tough of a lesson. So something to pay attention there. Someone asked, what does to shake the stem of which you are a branch mean to you?
I think somehow I like related it to like a collective soul wound around like assault and boundary crossing, like a need for like collective healing. And like I had somehow made an agreement to be part of, or maybe like my mentor had been made an agreement to be part of that awakening. And one of her daughters actually was sexually assaulted earlier in the year, but it was the other daughter, which was kind of weird that the younger one showed up in my dream. But so I thought that it had something to do with like the collective healing.
Mm-hmm. I mean, what comes to mind for me with that particular situation is that the power over power under dynamic, which is that certain people in these roles, and spiritual gurus or celebrities or people that we consider to be authority or bosses or even parents, whatever the power dynamic is that we've been agreeing to be a part of, there is this sort of traditional role of, I'm in this position of power, so I'm allowed to get away with things, right, that are oppressive, that are not questioned because of the role that I'm in. That is absolutely coming up to be healed right now, without question. It's a really specific kind of example of it, like, oh, it's okay that I violated you because it was for a teaching. It was for a spiritual teaching, right? So that kind of rhetoric, we know is very real, and there's a lot of wounding around it, because what it does is it turns you into this victim of not trusting yourself. And that's like, sometimes that's the PTSD of the situation, aside from just the actual violation. But then what happens is you are like, wait a minute, I don't feel like I can trust myself because I somehow must have signed up for this, or I somehow must have let this, made this okay because I put myself in that situation, or right? So we turn the blame on ourselves. And that's the other more subtle layer that I think is very much what's being healed right now. Right. And someone said the role of community as witness and enabler of violence in your dream. That's super important. No one else speaking up. That also stood out to me for sure. And like the mother leaving crying, but not saying anything, like not people not using their voices to call out things that they know are not right. Just sort of like apathy culture. Like, we're so apathetic to violence and racism and these different things that are happening in violation. We're so apathetic to it that we just like, oh, well, I can't do anything, so I'm just going to go back to watching reality TV and just be apathetic. You know what I mean? Like, that's huge in the culture right now. And there's a lot of wounding around that as well. Think about if your parent didn't stand up for you and just like repressed what happened. So all of those add to the collective trauma for sure. And that is absolutely a branch that needs to be shaken up. So, all right. Thank you so much for your dream. I'm going to move you back into the role of attendee. Let's see. Let's do one more. I know, Torres, you've been waiting for a while. I'm going to bring you on to share your dream, and then we'll do questions. Hi, Torres.
Hi. Hello.
Hi.
I feel so silly because my dream is just like
No.
it's just a really silly like dream that I had. So basically the dream was I was watching a live stream of one of my friends, and it was interesting because only I could see the live stream, and I think maybe it means something that he wasn't just FaceTiming me, but he was riding a bicycle around LA, and he is using his camera to show me around on his bike. And so he goes to this really like secluded area, and he's like, this is where I come to relax. This is like my place. And it's kind of like this really beautiful like forest area, which seems so like out of place, but it was just there. And he kind of raises up his phone, and there's like a little animal behind him. He's like, check this little guy out. And it's a goat, like a little baby goat. I know my dreams are so weird, and it got really weird. And so
the goat start
I'm
talking,
like, the goat, not exactly. The goat was just lying there, and jokingly, I'm like, oh, what kind of dog is that? And when I said that, the goat got up, and it had a dog's body, but a goat head. And it just started like bouncing around. And I said, oh, I'm dreaming. This is a dream. And I started laughing so hard that I woke up.
Oh my gosh.
And this is the dream that I had where I'm just like, you know what? Like, I'm just going to use what Haas taught us, and I'm just going to like relax and visualize what was happening. And so I kind of went back into the dream.
Wow.
And my friend, he's like, yo, do you want to ride around with me? And all of a sudden I was like there with him. And I'm like, I know that I'm dreaming. I'm having this really lucid experience. And we just rode up bikes around Los Angeles. And I don't know, it was just really fun and really interesting. I don't think it needs a ton of interpretation, but
it doesn't need
I just thought it was so funny.
I love that. I love you sharing that. That you walked back into that with so much ease, and that what you experienced was so simple. I mean, I'm telling you, some of my lucid dreams are just me flying. It's my favorite thing to do. I'm not always like, let me like meet with aliens and have a meeting about the future. It's not always like that. Like sometimes it's just that feeling of freedom, of flying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hearing more than anything. Riding bike for me emotes that same feeling of like flying and swimming in the ocean. It's just that feeling of like being free spirited.
Mm-hmm.
And it's easy for us to be like in a body and think that we're like, we're like stuck in this body when we're really, our spirits are very free. And one of the dreams that we have when we're lucid and we can feel that feeling of freedom and be lucid about it and bring it back with us, we can absolutely feel that feeling all the time. Someone said,
Yeah.
my dream of your dream is that play is very powerful and we manifest by speaking, believing things into existence.
I very much resonate with that. I joke around a lot, but I really do think that like my life's purpose is to like play, like to play with my friends and to like have fun and to show people that like, it's like we can still have fun even though that, there's a lot of stuff that's happening that may not be so pretty, but I do think fun is very important to me. And it was also interesting. I visited LA for the first time a few weeks ago.
Oh wow!
And I had this perfect experience where I was just like, there's no way it would always be like this if I lived here, you know?
Sure.
And right. And so I've just been kind of
Good for
thinking
you for
about
doing
it.
that.
Yeah. I was only there
that,
for a week.
I call that the honeymoon effect.
It was very honeymoonish, yeah.
Someone said the dream is a taste of what's coming, more play with friends in person, telepathically. LA maybe.
Ooh.
I
Yeah.
had fun dreams like this when I played piano before bed. Oh, interesting. That lighthearted fun quality is also in your voice. It's very calming, centering, and uplifting.
Oh my God. That just makes my heart flutter.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. Someone said playing on purpose, creating your imagination, creating your reality with imagination and the energy of exuberance. I love it. I love it. I love it. I think it's perfect last dream to share. So thank you, Taurus.
Of course. Thank y'all.
All right, I'm going to put you back as attendee. Okay, sorry. Awesome. All right. I love this. I love holding dream court with you all. So, so good. Okay. Let's look up real quick the questions. It's so nice to have a male bodied being. We're all masculine and feminine, but it's just nice. You can hear that intonation in the voice. It feels really sweet. So thanks, Torres, for being here and being present, sharing your dream. Okay, let's talk about questions. Okay, let's see. Specific nighttime ritual, I think I covered that. What do you recommend for playing frequencies while still having as little technology possible? Perfect question. To clarify, what I do is I actually have a speaker. See if I have it near me. Don't have it near me. I have a speaker. It's a Bluetooth speaker. And I will put the Bluetooth speaker on the other side of the room with the phone on the other side of the room, and I'll play my playlist. And I think many of you follow me on Apple Music, which is where I have playlist. I have a playlist called Quiet the Mind. I think it's called Quiet the Mind. It's probably my #1 sleep playlist. Then I also have one called, I'll have to remember the names of them and maybe put it in the forum. But there's a couple that are sound healing based. Some of them are for morning, because I also have an elaborate morning routine for different reasons, because the morning time is also good for programming and intention setting and creating your reality, of course, and for all kinds of other things, setting the tone for your day, tuning in, all that kind of stuff, manifestation work. And then nighttime for me, again, is more for sort of integrating and then receiving information, downloading and stuff like that. So I have different playlists for all of that. So I will have the speaker on the other side of the room, the phone on the other side of the room. The phone will be on airplane mode, so it will still be able to play sound, and then that's what I do. If I do that, other times I just will have everything out of the room. So it just depends. All right. If I'm having a bad or scary dream and I'm able to wake myself up by chanting "wake up" while clapping my hands, is this a type of lucid dream? Sure, because if you know that you're in a dream, then you're lucid in the dream. You're awake in the dream. Even if you are like, hey, I'm awake in this dream and the only thing I know that I need to do is get out of it, fine. If you're awake in the dream and you're like, hey, since I know that I'm awake, I can change the content of this dream, I can fly away instead, or something like that, that would just be using your lucidity in the dream in a different way. So you can absolutely change the dream. But in terms of like qualifying if it is lucid or not, so yeah, that's a yes. Let's see. How does EMDR affect dreams or your third eye? I'm currently undergoing EMDR therapy with my counselor, and I'm curious. remind me what EMDR is. I'll come back to that question. If that anonymous person is still in the class, add another question and tell me what EMDR is. What would you recommend if having a bath's not available to you but want a similar experience? Okay, you can do a salt scrub shower. I got all the tricks, y'all. You can do a salt scrub shower. So the same way that you would do like a spiritual bath, you can do it create a salt scrub with herbs, essential oils, and scrub it all over your body and take a shower. So do that. Okay. When you dream about a specific person, is there a way to know if you just cast them as a role in your dream or if you are truly interacting with them somewhere? Hope that makes sense. This is a perfect question. I had a dream about someone recently and I told them, and they actually asked me, can you ask for someone to be in the dream? And I said, yes, you can. You can absolutely ask for someone to be in a dream. You can ask to have a dream about someone. And I said, what I said is, but I usually just trust who comes through. I usually at this point don't ask necessarily specifically so much. But I have definitely, as I mentioned before, I have done things where I'm like, show me this person or show me that person or show me what the dynamic is between me and this person or show me something. But I also just trust. It's kind of like the metaphor that's coming up is it's kind of like when you do a past life regression hypnotherapy and people are like, I want to see the lifetime where I had with this person, right? Your higher self knows what you need to see. So when you do past life regression, you'll see the lifetime that you need to see that's relevant, not the one that your ego necessarily wants you to see. So yes, so you absolutely can. And you might also just try just totally surrendering to the unknown and trusting who you're shown. Usually in my dreams, I'm above myself, but I can see usually in black and white. What does that mean? I've never had a black and white dream that I can recall. I usually have very, very vivid, vivid colors that don't even exist here dreams. So I actually don't have much insight into that. Black and white dreams, what does it mean? Are there ways to get the most out of dream spirit school in the waking life? Again, I often say when it comes to things, I'll have a dream. It's not even a dream. I'm in spirit school and I'm in another reality. I'm in one of my other lifetimes. I went on in one of my multidimensional lives, one of my other parallel lives. And I'll be, in one of my other lives, I'm a scientist, right? And I'll be absolutely learning so much. And every time I'm like, oh, I'm going to remember everything. I'm going to bring it all back. And I'm going to like create free energy technology, or I'm going to bring all this stuff back. Right. And then I get back here and I'm like, I'm like the mechanics of it. My conscious mind cannot even comprehend it, even though I understood it at the time when I was in school. So for me, I always trust that it's there and that it's not so much about trying to remember everything. It's just give me what I'm ready for. Give me what's relevant and what I'm ready for. And I have a mantra in general that I want everything I'm ready for. So I don't try to hold on to information that way just because I get so much information. But it'll come through when I need it. That's what I know. When you say some people may not be ready for what you have to say, do you think a part of that could be the ego talking? I'm told a lot of times to people that I'm not ready to read a certain book, etc., that I'm not ready for the messages in it because I'm a certain way or a certain person. What do you think about this? I mean, sure, anytime that you're talking from that place, it's mind. I don't necessarily call it ego, but it's mind. It's the mind talking. And that's basically what I said. I basically said that my mind was creating this story that people are not ready. And then when I actually went into the experience, that was not the experience. Now the mind's very powerful. So my point of it, sharing that story, was to say that your mind is actually powerful enough to create that as a reality also. Right? So that's the thing. And as far as other people knowing what you're ready for, you know, I'm not sure that resonates for me, obviously, because someone else isn't going to necessarily know that. I think for me, my thing more is that I am aware that there is a collective choice, free will choice, that people don't want to wake up. And I do ask in my intention to not necessarily be a teacher for those people, although I am aware that they exist. I ask in my intention to be paired with people who are ready, who want this, so that it doesn't have to be hard. And I'm not trying to convince people. I'm just trying to help people remember what they already know, and to trust their own inner wisdom, and not to even trust me that I know what's best, but to actually trust their own inner wisdom. So that's kind of my intention that I set. But for sure, I'm often asked to mentor and speak and give insight into a lot of communities that don't resonate with me. And it just feels like pulling teeth. So that's my take on all of that. How do you negotiate sleeping besides loved ones while maintaining and protecting sacred sleep time? I struggle with the balance between me time and sharing a bed with loved ones. Eek! So I have not mastered this yet. I am extremely sensitive to people snoring. I'm extremely sensitive to people fidgeting, making sounds, all that kind of stuff. I have often said that I will absolutely need my own bedroom in the in the time when I decide that I want to, cohabitate with someone again in my life. It is funny because it's like a running joke with people that I'm like, my biggest fear is living with someone, because I need my sleep time. It's like sacred for me. But I do keep a pair of headphones nearby. And I will sometimes put sounds on, and if I have to, not my preference, but if I have to put sounds on and have the phone still maybe on airplane mode, but near enough that I can pop some white noise in to drown out that, then that's what it's gotta be. So maybe your own room, okay. Let's see, there's probably 2 more questions. Someone mentioned if you're dreaming or something dark and you're able to go towards it, face it, you actually gain powers in real life. Oh, interesting. That is a good question. I think that that's probably an urban legend. I'm going to tell you why. Because that sort of creates the belief that we have to do these tricks or whatever in order to get powers. Someone was talking about this the other day, and they're like, I'm reading all these books to get more powers. And I'm like, but the power is just you, the power is just you. All the powers that you have are just coming into greater expansion and allowance of who you really are. So, sure, maybe if you have a belief in the dream that, in the real dream, in your dream of this dream, matrix dream, that could happen, and, give yourself permission, that would be fun. So that could definitely be something that I would call a permission slip for self. Do I think that's an ultimate truth? Absolutely not. But it's fun. It's fun to think of that, and fun maybe to try it and see if it'll trigger that. But at the end of the day, it's the same thing with all magic. The fact that people think you have to cast a circle, and you have to have this crystal, and you have to say these words, you have to do this thing in order to get this magic. It's just you. So sure, if doing those things feels like a permission slip for you to allow yourself to be present and to be in your power, then do them. But you could also skip all that stuff, right? And just be in your power, you know? But I'm not against role playing and invoking and ritualizing things. I'm absolutely into ritualizing things because it does help the subconscious mind. So that would be my answer for that. So use it as long as it's beneficial. And then when you realize you don't need it, just let it go. Let's see. And someone said, do you have any recommended beginner books for learning about different herbs and their uses? I am very called to work with herbs, but I'm lost in how to start in Google. Much information can be overwhelming. So I'm not sure if you're part of the portal community, but we have a book club. And I've been thinking about this, and maybe you guys can let me know. Right now, the resonance page within the portal is private only for resonance subscribers, and it was a way for you all to have something that was just for you. But I'm thinking of making it available to everyone in the portal because there's just a lot of great information in there about plants. Every month I post about plants and about plant medicine, and it sounds like a lot of people want more of that. So I'm thinking I'm just going to open up those videos to everyone to be able to see what's in the resonance stuff. So if that's a question from someone in the portal, I do talk about books every month, and I talk about plant medicine every month in the portal. Offhand, can I think of a book, plant medicine book? I'll have to get back to you on that. I'll have to get back to you maybe next class. I'll plan on like bringing another book, but like I said, it's in the portal. So if you're asking, then if you're in the community, then that is there. Okay, last question. I'm happy to end with this one. When will we know about your retreat in Tunisia? I'm going to be there next year and would love to make it happen. Okay, so actually yesterday, we just officially set up the business. We just got our logo, and the architect and the workers are starting renovations this week. So I haven't been posting on social media, but I am going to be sharing more on social media about the progress of what we're doing. My business partner is there now. She's been there setting everything up for the past month, and this is the last week that she's going to be there and for now. And the construction, the building is a very, very old building. As I said, it's a building in the actual old city, in the Medina, in the city of Sousse. And so the renovations start this week, and everything is so far on the timeline that we have expected. Things could possibly come up, but our intention is that we'll be open in January. So my plan is to go there at the end of the year, and I'll be there for a couple months, setting up retreats and getting things situated for all the programming that's going to happen there. So definitely next year we're going to be up and running. So I'll tell you guys more and more about it. It's going to be awesome. There's going to be rooms for people that want more of a luxury thing. There's going to be rooms that are kind of more of a hostel style. We wanted it to be a place where for every price point, there's something for people. Yeah, absolutely. North Africa is my absolute favorite, not just because that's where I was born, where my ancestors are from, but from everywhere I've been in the world. It's just my favorite culture. It's my favorite land. It's stunningly beautiful, and I cannot wait to share my love of it with you all in this amazing, beautiful space. So I love you all so much. Have such a beautiful day. Keep me and my family and Jabril in your prayers. Jabril starts middle school tomorrow, so that's going to be really exciting, and that's what I'm going to be focused on all this week. I will definitely post in the portal about Tuesdays. I will absolutely post this chat as well. I will post about Tuesdays master class in the portal, and I will also post in the portal when we'll do our makeup poetry writing Sufi class with Sukina, our guest. So, all right. Love you all. Have such a beautiful day. Thank you for being with me, and I'll talk to you all soon. All right. Peace and love.